morning, good afternoon, good evening to all the dignitaries and great audience who are here. It really gives us a great privilege and pleasure having you with us. Today is the time that we are inaugurating the ANZ chapter of GWFM. It really takes great pleasure and privilege to have you here with us today. Thanks all the speakers who are present here today. It's really fortunate for us to inaugurate today, and we wanted to do this a few months back, but we got this quiz competition. We thought that we'll get that done. So we inaugurate this. Can we clap for our ANZ chapter? And we wish to grow ANZ chapter to bigger and bigger and very bigger, year on year and decades after decades. We are planning monthly events here. Also, we're going to have the chapter head and committee, who's going to be forming, and we want to reach out to every WFM professionals who are present in the ANZ region, so that we want all of them to be part of this, so that we build kind of community where we all create networking professionally and also create kind of knowledge sharing platform. This is what is the purpose of it. We've been trying to do it. In fact, we have set up the chapters in all over the places where North America, Latin America, EMEA, of course APAC is there. So we wanted to complete this so that we're going to have very exciting sessions month on month in ANZ. We plan to have monthly events and also like quarterly big events and also annual events specific to the chapters. And we're going to invite all the best speakers and all the audience, especially the WFM and operation background professionals who are going to be part of this. Let's create great knowledge sharing and professional networking. So it gives us a great pride and privilege to inaugurate ANZ chapter. Thank you so much for all of you being there with us. And it really gives great privilege and pride. And moving on to the event, thank you so much, Rajas, Nadia, Abhi, Martin, Bhupesh, for taking your time out and joining this. Sorry about the timings issue. I think there's some problem, Sydney timings and also Melbourne timings. I tried making that central time. I think that's not the right one. So we'll see that how we can really improve next time onwards. And this agenda that we have today, we have the keynote speeches by Rogers, Nadia, and also Abhi, and then we're going to have a panel discussion with Abhishek and Nadia and Martin, Rogers, and Bhupesh. Well, and we'll try completing our session in 2 hours of time from now, so that we try sharing our perspective and also sharing our experiences and stories of that. We have audience who are going to join us already. Audience are already started joining. Let's move on with this. Okay, to talk about GWFM, we founded this in the year 2005, where it has been more than 5 years now. And we started with a small forum where around 30-40 people in the college, in the B school, where we didn't know that it's going to grow very big. Me and Partho started this, and later which we did around 70. This is 71 event, 71st event. We did a lot of events overall, and we did it offline. Very interestingly, in this year we had very good event in Manila. We all gathered. Nadia was there, and also we had Sunil and multiple people. We gathered there in Shangri-La, and it was a fantabulous event that we had. So this year, another good event was the annual event, where we had best products and best practices award program, and also we had 2 days of workshop. And recently we had a quiz program. In fact, we have been trying to create best of the possible knowledge sharing platform, and also like trying to do whatever innovation is possible within WFM. And in fact, WFM did not have any community except SWPP, which is focusing on North America. So now we thought of we'll have chapters everywhere, every country. I mean, in 2021, we want to reach out to every country in the world, so that we want to get all of them into the community and help them. And we want to reach out to every WFM professionals and touch their heart and soul. In fact, we bring in thought leadership into the WFM community and creating a lot of innovation and knowledge sharing, especially. A good thing about is we're the first one to dedicate WFM International Professionals Day as on 27th. Why 27th? 27th is when we started our forum, so we thought to dedicate. We have been celebrating this since last 3 years. Last year has been a fantastic one. This year we're all excited to have a big number of gathering to celebrate International WFM Professionals Day. In fact, we have 20K members all over the world now. And first one to introduce hackathon, and then we are the first one to introduce the education, WFM education in the universities and B school. In fact, if you look at it, any of the universities worldwide, there's no syllabus or there's no curriculum taught as far as WFM is concerned. We have enabled that. We already tied up with a few of the universities worldwide, and by 2021, we want to have at least top 20 or top 50 universities where they had to study WFM related, right from forecasting to scheduling and planning and all that as far as WFM syllabus is concerned. That's what we are doing, and in fact, we are taking help from a few of the tech companies to help us to teach WFM tech, and so that let's create an awareness of WFM worldwide. And what do we do after we inaugurated the chapters worldwide? Our specific areas which we have been working since last 5 years, especially since last 2 years, has been a phenomenal development which we have been doing. We have got great advisories with us worldwide, and what we do predominantly is roundtable webinars, international summits, and hackathons. Hackathon is the first thing that we are going to do it. In fact, we did it in offline. Online one, we want to do it sometime like Jan, February. We're just thinking that. And we have been known as awarding body as far as the courses, as far as best practices and WFM tools are concerned. And our community and also corporate is looking up to GWFM kind of initiatives that we are bringing in, and kind of thought leadership which are bringing into the community and also to the market. And we've been doing a lot of CXOs and global leaders interviews and have conversations. And also we have WFM product and also the strategy related white papers, reports, trend news, and the magazine, which we keep publishing it in our network, and also which is available in the social media as well. And very interesting thing, in 2021 first quarter, we're going to introduce the WFM maturity model, which is GWFM maturity model, which is a quality standards, which is in testing stage now. Should be able to have this as a kind of continuous improvement in standards, and then benchmarking, like level 1 to 5. Each level, what is required to qualify, and how they can really move up to the standard of the next level. That's one. And as I was mentioning, WFM University, we have GWFM corporate universities where we support the corporates and also the college crowd as far as certification, executive program, and postgraduate program. In fact, we have come out of the fellowship and elite fellow. Very soon we are starting a PhD doctorate program in WFM very soon, maybe sometime by next year. And also we do consulting, setting up COE process and strategy for the organizations, which we have been doing it. And very interestingly, we have been investing in WFM innovation. I know that Martina and Nadia have been, their product companies been spending a lot of time on researching and all that things. In fact, we are also doing it like what is a new tool, okay, what is a new feature in the tool, and what is a new practice, and what companies are doing globally, and which is best practices, and also like trying to have more information about WFM, and trying to do whatever best research and what is future of WFM, all that we are trying to do as far as research is concerned. That's what we have been doing it, and also we provide mentoring and coaching, because mentoring and coaching is really missing, and this is something that we wanted to offer, and we've been offering it to a few organizations already, and also to individuals. This is about WFM. In fact, this is the award that we've been giving. Last year we had Exaware and KPMG, IBM. They got best practices and best product award. And this year has been like Sutherland. Congrats, Abhi, and then Upesh. Congrats for best practices award for Sutherland and Concentrix. And we had best tools, was nice, and then Fusion. This is a fantastic competition that we had. We had 30 companies participated in this. So we do this year on year. Okay. With this, thank you so much for taking time out. We're going to kickstart this session now. It gives me great pleasure inviting first speaker of the day is Rogers. Rogers heads the workforce planning for Infosys Australia. Good to have you, Rogers, with us, and we're going to have you with us in the panel discussion as well. It's a pleasure having you. Thanks for taking time out to share your knowledge and a piece of advice, and what is the future of WFM, and love to hear and listen to you. With this, I hand over the control to Rogers, who is the first speaker of the day.
Thank you, Shiva, for the wonderful introduction that you have given. Thanks a lot. Thank you, fellow panelists and all the participants. So as Shiva has mentioned, I manage the workforce planning for Infosys Australia and New Zealand. This is a part of the global Infosys entity with 5,000 employees spread across the two countries. Infosys as a global company, we have around 250,000 employees spread across multiple geos, working in multiple countries. And basically we provide the IT services to our clients, consulting and IT services to the clients. So this is a brief history of Infosys and myself. So to start with the discussions for today. So the topic for which I would like to share is about the workforce strategies, the pre-COVID scenarios. So I thought that it is best to share some of the stories and best practices that we have experienced during the COVID times, and the learnings that we have made out of that in the last 8 to 9 months as an organization, and what are the things that we could implement looking forward on the pre-COVID times. So I would like to share with you all mainly 3 to 4 stories from Infosys during this last 8 to 9 months. So the first story is in the month of July 2020, when the COVID has just started hitting, and we were experiencing the times when the people started experiencing a lot of changes in the work environments. People started working from home, and as a company, Infosys works in a global delivery model. So where we especially in the areas like on-site locations, whereas like where we operate, like in Australia, in Europe, and in US, we work in a model where we have a lot of talents locally in our employee pool, as well as we bring in people from offshore, basically India, to meet up the demands of the clients. So we work in a model where we have a mix of talents at at deputation, as well as a mix of talents who are working with us locally. So that is a talent mix. We operate in geos outside India. So the mix would be approximately around 40-60%, where 40% of the people would be on deputation who come for a short-term skills assessment, short-term assignment from India, and the 60% would be permanent employees who would be serving for a longer roles actually. So when the COVID hit us, we had a time when a lot of our India-based employees who were here on deputation, many of them who were away from their families, who need support from their families, they really wanted to go back to their parent places actually. They wanted to return back to India. So that was a time when all the flights were stopped. We didn't have an option to send anybody back. There was no airlines operating out from Australia or New Zealand back to India. And it was really a challenging situation, as we had more than 200-250 employees who had expressed their interest to go back, even though they were working in active projects, critical skills. But these employees wanted to go back because of their personal reasons. Many of them wanted to be with the families. The parents were alone. They were sick. Maybe the people were separated from their spouses and children. So there were various reasons actually. So that was a time when we decided that we need to do something to take care of the employees. So as a company, we decided to organize a charter flight, which took all the employees, around 200 plus, from Infosys Australia, including Melbourne, Sydney, and other locations. And they were taken back to India and were put back in their homes after arranging the flights from the locations where they landed actually. So this was a huge exercise that we had done in the month of July, when the COVID had just hit us actually in the initial wave. So the learnings that we have got from this exercise is that the first priority that we need to give to the employees is basically the feeling, the factor of empathy. Normally, as an IT services company, we look at talent, we look at numbers, we look at the numbers that we need to fulfill. And coming to the employee side, that was something which we were not really into. But the entire exercise of COVID has taught us that employee empathy is also one of the important factors that we need to look into, and this enabled us to streamline various internal processes to bring in empathy as an important factor in our workforce planning. So how did it help us actually? So when I told about the critical skills that these people were working in, the clients definitely wanted these people to continue working at on-site locations, but these people wanted to go back. So we had to fulfill those positions, those technology skill set without impacting the client delivery. So this was actually a huge task for us. So how do we fulfill these positions without impacting the client delivery? And we need these people. So there's a time when we came to a realization that we need to work together as a team, the recruitment, the sales, the operations. We need to work hand in hand in an agile model. So the recruitment turnaround time, which was more about around 4 to 6 weeks, was brought down to a week's time in hiring locally, building up this talent pool, reskilling the people, taking discussions with the client, the sales leadership who went and had huge amount of discussions with the client team to make them understand the situations. And we find that clients were absolutely supportive in these situations. They understood the needs of the people. They understood the kind of challenges that as a company that Infosys will have in providing these talents immediately. So they were okay with looking at alternative skill sets, giving us time to reskill the people. So these are the kind of experiences that we had with this exercise of moving people back to India. So this is the story number one, where this opened up a lot of avenues for us to understand that yes, business is changing, business realities are changing, but clients are also accommodative to our requirements, and there is always a workaround to the things that to the existing things actually. The story number two is about one of the largest deal that we had won during the COVID times. So after winning this deal in one of the largest public sector projects in Australia, it was extremely difficult for us to staff these positions because it was a deal with Pega as the technology was front-ending. And the market for hiring Pega in the local Australia, New Zealand market is extremely niche. and the people who are available in this market is of it's basically a candidate driven market where the salary stretches go to an extent of around 50, 60 and 70%. So if we hire the people at a huge stretches, this will erode our margins, and definitely this is not going to work out actually. Even though we have tried hiring a lot of people, but it was not a model that was workable actually. And we need around 100 plus people to be ready in a period of 1 to 2 months of time. So that is a time when we look at the option of hiring alternate skill sets, adjacent skill set, and training these people through an extensive training programs of 4 to 6 weeks, and then deploying these people actually. And that has actually worked out really well for us. And we hired people with lower experience, lower years of experience, who are working in a near skills where the cost was much lesser than hiring the exact skill set. We went into a training program, we reskilled these people, and we were able to deploy all these people in the time frame which was required actually. So, and the deployment was really a good thing. So the learning that we have got from this is that so far we have been hiring mostly for the skill set that we require, and the managers and the hiring team would be exactly looking at the skill set that they require, and it would be nearly a 90 to 95% match they would be taking. But with this exercise, with COVID coming in, we understood that yes, reskilling, hiring people in adjacent skill set is going to be a norm, and we have to adopt to that pattern. We need to look beyond. We need to relook at the hiring strategies. We cannot always assure to the client that we will give you exactly 100% match of the skill set. But yes, we can hire the people, train them. We will ensure that we are not affecting or impacting the client delivery by hiring alternate skill set. So this is the second learning that we have got in the COVID times, that reskilling is going to be a new norm in the pre-COVID, in the post-COVID time frame actually. So when I tell about reskilling, it's not only about hiring the people from outside and reskilling them, but it's also about reskilling the internal people. So earlier, maybe a year before, when you say about reskilling, it's all about people who are out of their current project, waiting for a new project. That was a time when people thought about, okay, let me learn something new, let me reskill myself and learn something new so that I may be good for the next project. But the norm of the reskilling has changed now. Reskilling has been adopted as an org-wide initiative across Infosys. Now people who are currently working in the projects are actively doing the reskilling so that they can move into higher billing positions, move into higher high-end technology areas. They can start working in different areas of streams or which is of interest to them. So reskilling, cross-skilling, upskilling has become a norm in Infosys now, where every employee is now going through one or another reskilling exercise, because the talent availability has become an extreme shortage in this market. And with this kind of shortage that we are facing in the talent availability, this is the only way in which we can fulfill the needs and demands of the client. So reskilling, upskilling, and cross-skilling has become a norm of the day. I think this is going to continue with the post-COVID era. So the third story which I would like to bring in is about an email which I've received from one of the colleagues' family, expressing thanks for not making his role redundant, actually for retaining him. This is a surprise email that I had received maybe in the month of September, October. Yeah. So the story was like this: like we had identified a set of employees who were out of the projects for a long period of time. We were not able to deploy them back to the projects, and the roles were actually redundant because we don't need such kind of positions right now. And it was easy for us to do a redundancy on these roles and send these employees out because that was the cost. That is a cost-effective model that we could run, because there was a huge cost improvement initiatives that is running across the organization ourselves. So we decided that we will not send anybody out from the organization because of the skill redundancy, but we will try and do whatever ways that we can do to place these people in different positions. So it was a huge task because we had to, the CV doesn't speak enough about the skill set of the people. So we had to have individual conversations with these people to understand what are the things that they have done in their career so far, about the skill set that they are good in at, something that have worked very fast very early in the start of the career, something which they can think about reskilling themselves. So it took time and effort, but surprisingly, and with the continuous effort from the support functions like sales and the operations and delivery team, we were able to get back 95% of the employees back into different projects, and we had actually stopped the redundancy exercise at some point of time. So this was something which brought smiles on the face of a lot of families and the employees, because they were all worried about losing their jobs. So the learnings that we have got from this exercise is that yes, people who have got learning attitude, they can be reskilled. Whether whatever technology that you are working in, it doesn't matter. If you have an ability to learn new things, yes, I can get myself reskilled and move into a new area. But definitely, yes, there will be challenges, because there will not be a direct acceptability for these people who are reskilled. It requires a lot of support from the supporting functions to sell these people, to sell these technologies, handholding from the managers, and yes, this need to be a long-term process, but yes, it can be done. So that is the third learning that we have got from this exercise, that any skill in the company, anybody with a skill can be looked at reskilling, provided they have a learning ability. The fourth story which I would like to share, the fourth and the last story which I would like to share, is building the bottom of the pyramid. So we were mostly focused on and hiring the skill set that were on demand for us. So there is a time, the COVID time has taught us that everybody cannot be available on the market. You have to build the pyramid from the bottom, because that is going to be a cost-effective model. So we started the program of university hiring, graduate hiring, and in the last 1 year, we have hired almost 160 plus graduates from universities across Australia and New Zealand, and they have been this has been a great initiative for us, because these people are doing a great performance in the last 1 year time. We have got good feedback from the client. We've got a great support from the work that they have to be doing from the client managers. So it requires effort in hiring, in training these people and holding them and mentoring them. But yes, this is going to be a huge cost advantage for us, and building the bottom of the pyramid. And they have got a great career to grow up in Infosys. So this is the fourth learning that we have got, is that yes, building in the bottom of the pyramid, bringing new talent in from their younger age and holding them, is also going to be an important factor in the workforce planning, because you cannot always look at hiring laterally and meeting up the numbers. You can always also need to bring in the talent pool at the bottom of the pyramid. So this is the four stories which I would like to share with the team about the experiences that we had in the COVID times and the learnings that we have taken away from these exercises, and trying to implement them in the future. Thank you.
Thanks, Rajesh, for a very insightful highlight on Infosys story. And there's one question from the audience. They want to check, what do you see that 2021 priority, maybe if you name one or two or three for your organization, or what do you suggest that should be priority for 2021?
So what we've seen, that's a good question actually. So what we have seen and what was working for us in the last 9 months is basically moving away from a centralized workforce planning model to a decentralized one, where the managers are empowered to make decisions in the local areas in which they're operating. So Infosys is a huge company. We're working in a centralized workforce planning model, where we do a central planning for hiring of around 8,000 to 10,000 people in a quarter. But COVID times, where the client demands are changing, they need decisions immediately. This is the time when we decided that we need to empower managers to make decisions on the hiring. Actually, we need to empower them to commit to the client that yes, we can get you this skill set, we can provide support on these areas, and we will enable the skill set required for this one. So that was a huge change that as an organization that we have embraced in the COVID times, where the managers were empowered to make the talent planning decisions in the local teams, provided it is within certain guidelines, but yes, they had got a lot of freedom to make those decisions, and the turnaround was very quick. Clients were much happier. The hiring model was hiring was much faster. The positions were getting fulfilled much quicker way, and that I think that is going to be a model which definitely will be helping us by empowering the managers and making them a part of the workforce planning rather than keeping workforce planning as a centralized exercise. Thank you.
That's amazing insights. Thanks, Rajas, for sharing the insights and a very good story to listen to as far as Infosys is concerned. I think they've been doing phenomenal work globally, including ANZ. It's really great. Thank you so much. Now, interest of time, we'll quickly move on. Rajas, please stay back. I will have you in the panel discussion conversation. Yeah. Now, I'll quickly have Nadia's presentation. I'll just run through. All right. So it gives me an immense pleasure inviting Nadia again onto GWFM platform. This time is in our home country. I'm sure that Nadia is so privileged and so happy about it. And we're going to build and make ANZ as a great chapter in the world. And thank you so much for accepting and also taking time out for making this presence, Nadia. It's really great to have you with us today. And Nadia is going to talk about lessons from COVID-19 and new WFM strategy and Wayforward 2020. So with this, I invite Nadia.
Thank you. I will just.
I'll give you
it's not giving me the control.
We can see your screen.
Can still see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, so thank you everybody for joining. It's great to be able to speak to you this afternoon about a topic that's kind of been on my mind for a little while. What have we actually learned from the last 10, 11 months? And what will workforce management look like in future? It's an interesting discussion to have. My role at NICE is Asia Pacific. So I'm speaking to customers all the way through the region. And the way that we speak to them and the things that we hear from them are very different depending on the region or sub-region that you're speaking to. So for example, Australia and New Zealand are perhaps at the forefront of thinking about, well, what's next? Whereas some of the other countries, such as India, for example, and then you have some of the ASEAN countries in the middle who are still grappling with this day to day and are not 100% out the other side. So there's a whole different, thought spectrum, and people are really in different headspaces and are experiencing different things throughout the region. So it's given me some pause to think about when the dust settles where we will be. I've got some ideas, but let's talk about some of the lessons that were learned. I'm sure some of these will resonate with you. So anyone who's sat through one of my presentations at NICE will see that I typically have this slide up at the beginning of every conversation, and I know Shiva was mentioning that that they're also doing a maturity model. This is just to give some visualization to perhaps where your WFM practice and also the technology could be. You may identify different parts of your practice and technology at different points of this spectrum, and you may have a roadmap or journey that you want to get to with some of them. The reason I bring it up in the context of today is because you're going to see that a lot of the people who are sitting in the operating space and somewhat in the performing space were not able to enact on their COVID responses in the way that they perhaps would have been the most optimal for them. They were hamstrung in different ways because they're sitting further down on this spectrum. We'll take a look at that in more detail, but just to pick out some keywords, I'm not going to read every single point on the slide. People who are in the operating space are typically still doing WFM for voice only, and that was great 15, 18 years ago, not so bad. Today, it's not going to cut it when we think about the channel mix in an organization. The voice channel is shrinking. We all know this. It's still very important. Typically, the handle time on the voice is longer, but the other channels are growing and consuming more of the agent's time. So when you're only looking at a certain point or a subset of your demand, it's a real problem, right? And it's just manual. Everything's manual. Everything's hard. Getting at data is hard. Getting a report is hard. Putting through a change request is difficult. You know, agents can't self-serve. Everything just takes a long time. And when you need to respond quickly to things, this is where all of the issues start to come up. They're probably on-premise technology. We're going to speak about that in more detail as well. Yes, I'm from a technology provider, and so this is always on the forefront of our minds, but it impacts you and the ability to respond in the way that you need to. The leading people, omni-channel. They probably have an omni-channel contact center that's routing emails and chats and has a, you know, that luxurious flow of data to WFM. That's a nirvana for us. That's what we want. We don't want integrations all over the place. We don't want missing data. We want a nice omni-channel integration that does it all for us, right? Automation is a key driver to being in the leading space, powered by AI, machine learning. We all hear those words all the time now. Lots of self-service and cloud. That's what we want to be. So you may find yourself asking, what the heck was that? And I put the word heck there, and you can interchange it with any other word that you like to say in the privacy of your own home. But in Australia, we're kind of at the point now we're reporting less than, one case a day. We're going for long periods of time without cases, but we're not quite out of the woods. But we're kind of thinking, what the hell just happened, right? This has been the craziest 10 or 11 months that any of us have lived through. When I see businesses stretched like this, and it's the same with any change, any very extreme change, it will bounce back to what it was, but maybe not quite. There'll be a few fragments of what happened on the extreme that will come back into the normal, but it won't be as extreme all the time. So it's about what lessons do we take from that, and what do we let go as being a BCP or an emergency type of response? What happens? So some of the lessons learned from technology. I occupy a pretty cool role in WFM. I've been in WFM as a practitioner for a long time, but now I'm in the vendor space. I work for NICE in Contact. And so I get to speak to you all about how you use WFM. So I see a lot of people, they come to us, they need help, they need assistance to change. So I get to understand of a wide variety of problems. And these are some of the big ones that stood out about technology. Over the past 10 months, I have had so many people come to us and say, Nadia, we need to expand by 500 people because we're standing up a COVID response, we're in healthcare, how are we going to set up a contact center? And they can't, right? It's too hard. Why? Because they have premise-based technology that can't scale. Because by the time they go and find servers and provision them and get them stood up, it's all too hard, it's too difficult, right? So some lessons learned. If you're thinking about investing in WFM technology or any other workforce optimization solution, you really need to consider cloud first. Must. You may have to rule it out for some other security reason or anything else within your organization, but cloud, we want to evaluate cloud first, because you can go up, you can go down, you can go out. All of those good things, right, happen. You can respond, and you're a lot more agile with cloud computing. It's the same for all of the applications we use, and it's also the same for WFM. Yeah, premise has its place, and I know some of my customers must stay there. But lesson learned, for the people who are able to move the quickest were all my cloud customers. People who let stuff get old, also a lesson learned. We again had so many customers come and say, oh my God, we need to do this, we need to do that to our WFM. Well, guess what? Your WFM is so ancient, everyone forgot about it until it became suddenly important. We can't actually help you add on a new ACD or add another 1,000 agents or do any customized services work to support you on this journey, because the version is so old. So this is the same for anything, right? If you're going to have to all of a sudden drive your car for 10,000 miles and you never got it serviced, or you've let the tires go bald or whatever it is, right? In your mind, think about the WFM technology. Is it up to date? Is it, all of those things that prepare you to do things with it in a hurry? Because when it gets old, this is where things just become challenging for our customers. Is it driving a return on investment? This is always a question that you should be asking, but it's something that really did stand out in the last few months for people, where they may have invested in technology that when push comes to shove, they're just never using it. And resourcing and governance for the technology. So being able to understand who owns the technology in case you do need to quickly make a change to it, and having somebody who knows the product, not just from an application level, but also from an IT perspective. So a bit of a funny bench. We are WFM practitioners. We do like to get into the weeds about WFM, but it's being provided to us on a technology. So if it's not the fundamentals of our software are not up to date and situated in a way that helps us respond to change, then that can be a limiter. So keep your house tidy, keep it up to date, and you'll be in a good place to move forward. Now, the WFM practice, and we're going to dive into this in a little more detail. This was funny, actually, and I say funny because I mean like interesting. Most WFM solutions actually are pretty functional, and they really do have everything you need already to handle multi-site, to handle work from home, to handle complex skilling, priorities and profiles. People didn't know how to use it, right? So what happens is that you end up with a situation where the WFM team do things in a certain way. I press this button, I press that button, I do it for this many weeks, and that's what I do it, and that's my job. When it all goes to hell in a handbasket, and you now need to perhaps rethink maybe the design of your WFM database, because we have restructured all the old geographies that used to exist don't exist anymore. We're going to disperse some stuff. It means that you need to have a nuanced and educated understanding about why stuff was set up in the first place. Why are you even doing that? Because now we're going to not do that. We need to do something else. So when people come out of that rote learning process, do they really understand how to use the software that you've been investing in for years? And when you take away the safety net of routine, this is where the gaps start to form, because they never actually really understood what they were doing in the first place. Yeah. So that was interesting. We sent out a lot of consultants doing a lot of consulting work for people on their existing WFM to help them do things like split shifts, flexible shifts, to use some of the enhanced self-service capabilities, because they want to drive more employee engagement through self-service. And they already had the tools. They've had the tools for years. They just never used those features or never really understood how to adapt to change. So that was an interesting lesson that we saw pop up. Being able to adapt to change and reforecasting, I think that's pretty self-explanatory. Is your WFM team driving operational strategy? Are they actually really contributing to the response, or are they just timekeepers? And role clarity. So that was another one that came up, being able to really understand who should be doing what in that time of change. The question you should ask yourself when you're thinking about lessons learned is really, is your WFM strategic? Were they thought leaders throughout the last 10 or 11 months? Were they spinning up different scenarios? Were they mucking around with operating hours and service level objectives and different shrinkage profiles? Or were they just timekeeping and adding sick leave and annual leave and changing breaks, right? And that's not to say that the transactional isn't in fundamental, I guess, part of WFM, but in times of flux, this would have been your time to shine. It would have been the time to really get a close lean in with operations and say, look, if this happens, if that happens, if we do this, if we do that, because I've spun up all my plans, and really tightly forge that relationship and that trust with operations to say, here's the implications of different scenarios playing out, which is, guess what we should be doing the whole time, not mucking around with breaks and moving somebody's meeting from 2 to 3, right? There's ways we can automate that. So I think the people who are really in that strategic space had a good opportunity to progress that relationship and prove value, right? It's often a struggle in WFM to get operations to invest in WFM, to make sure the technology is up to date and to train us on regular intervals. When you get an opportunity like that, that helps your business case to say WFM is super important. It's not just because we record who was sick and who was late, it's because we drive strategy. And, Shiva is talking about, as he said, a doctorate in WFM. And I mean, that's kind of the level that you should kind of see yourself within the organization. So yeah, that was interesting. People often don't really know what they're doing with the tools that they have. So just some quick notes on WFM practice. We saw pretty much an increase in some contact centres, particularly health, medical, government, and then others we just saw completely dry out up a little bit was such as travel and hospitality. So it's about being able to maintain customer experiences while people are going from home. So just being consistent was something that came out of it. When people are in a state of flux, the better that you can maintain your routines, I guess the more comfort and structure that actually gives to the business. Keeping lines of communication open. I actually didn't write this slide. This has come from the American team, and I love that they've put over communicate as the first point. Australians, we don't love to over communicate. Say what you got to say and then move on, right? So they've put over communicate. I urge you to communicate effectively and as needed on whatever channel you need to do. Let's not over communicate. KPIs, right? So this was important. This is back to my other point about being able to actually change the goalposts and find out ways that's going to affect your WFM strategy and plan. Should we change the service level agreement over this period? Should we look at adherence more closely or refactor our attrition modeling? So not just laboring under the same KPIs that you always had, but being adaptable to change. Forecasting, reforecast often, okay? The last point is the most important point to me, because this is perhaps a missing link in your WFM strategy, and it's the link's getting bigger and bigger. So be sure that you're including all of the demand when you're doing your scenario planning, and that just goes for any time, but perhaps even more so in COVID as people try different ways to communicate with your organization. Make sure that you're in some way, ideally via an integration, but in any way, including all of the different channels. But then expect the unexpected, be like water, they say, be flexible. Adopt a mindset of being flexible. So sometimes we can't adhere to the policies that we typically have because life changes, and in this case, in quite an extreme way. Different shift methodologies was interesting that came out. The ability to perhaps change shift allocation. If people are working from home, perhaps they can have more increased availability due to not having to commute and things like that. Again, different shift options, setting up perhaps regular touch points with supervisors and coaches, and just really leveraging your intraday practice, being able to, respond to change in real time, reforecast as often as you need, and resimulate your schedules very frequently, which I know you should are all doing today anyway. So that really concludes my lesson learned. I think I was getting ready for this session and I was thinking about it. It's just like life, really. The people who are better prepared for the day-to-day are typically better prepared to handle an emergency. So if your software's up to date, if you have it sitting in a cloud, if you have the roles clearly defined, if you have BCP processes defined, you're far better equipped to quickly respond in a smart and effective way. I think people who have let the grass grow over their lawn into a bit of a jungle, and they go, oh my God, we need to quickly make a change. This is where all of those challenges come in and really stops them from quickly adopting to the changing conditions around them. Just like the Scouts, boys and girls, be prepared, and you'll be better set to handle the next challenge of, I'm sure which will be one at some point. So thank you. That concludes my section on lessons learned.
Thanks, Nadia. That has been very detailed and very focused lessons learned in the 2020 COVID learnings. It has been phenomenal, very, very insights, and also liked about the what should be the plans for 2020. It's amazing learning. I'm sure that these insights would definitely help most of the WFM folks to prioritize. Thank you so much.
Thank you.